are Gaudete in Domine, rejoice in the Lord, in the entrance antiphon. Gaudete, rejoice. But not only rejoice, St. Paul says, rejoice always. Even further, he says, Gaudete in Domino, iterum dico, gaudete. Rejoice in the Lord. I repeat, rejoice. Remember when I was studying my theology in Rome and thinking about these words and talking to my spiritual director, say, I have a hard enough time being happy in a regular day. Always? I can't do that. Iterum dico gaudete, I say, I repeat to you, rejoice. So thinking about this, came to mind another moment in my life in Rome when I was there in my second year of theology. It was a beautiful time, many emotions, because that was the year 2005 when Pope John Paul II passed away. And he'd been Pope for 26 years. So he'd been Pope for most of my lifetime. And we'd kind of grown up together. He'd been Pope, and I'd been watching him and listening to his discourses. And yeah, we weren't that intimate, but I knew him. He maybe didn't know me, but that was okay. And so when he passed away, there was a tremendous joy at the sense that he had done so much, and he gifted us so much to God through him to the church. But of course, a great sadness too, because a beloved person who I felt was part of my life was no longer there. And I remember, especially being in Rome, there was this tremendous emptiness. I remember because when the Pope dies, there's a few days. There's the wake, where you can go by, pay your respects to his mortal remains, and then there's the funeral, and then there has to be, I think it's 8 days before they start the conclave. So there's a period of mourning. So you've got pretty much 2 weeks, and it's like there's no father, there's no dad, because the Papa, the Pope, Daddy has died. And so I remember I was surprised at how empty I felt and how lost I felt. And so when the conclave finally started, this was in April, so we had classes and everything. And we'd been told, okay, you can go twice to the Vatican, because they vote twice a day. And that's when they burn the smoke, they burn the papers, and the white or black smoke comes out. So we couldn't go all the time because you still had to go to classes. But our superior said, okay, you can go twice, so choose them well. So I remember thinking, and when should trying to time it right so I could be there when he was going to be elected or not. And so I remember after they said the first day, they vote on the first day, they have their first gathering, and then they vote in the evening, and that's the first vote. And I was thinking, no, it's not going to go on the first one, so I didn't go. And then the next morning, I said, I think it's going to take a little bit longer. And then the afternoon, I remember some of my friends, they were seminarians, say, we're going to go. You want to come? I said, and I had a class that afternoon. I said, well, I got a class, and I think it's going to be tomorrow morning, so I'm going to go tomorrow morning. So I remember I was in this class, and it was a class given by an English professor. So he was talking to us about something about science and faith. I don't remember exactly. And so we're all sitting in class, and it's a bunch of people in the class, we're probably 40, 50, and he's talking about whatever he's talking about. And at one point, a priest who was kind of in the hallway, you see him, he's walking around, he's got his phone, and he comes over and he opens the door and he says, "C'è fumo bianco, c'è fumo bianco," and he runs away. Everyone in class stands up and takes off. And the English professor's like, "What's happening?" And so I said, there's white smoke, the Pope's been elected. And he goes, "Oh, I guess we won't finish the class then." And I just left. And then I remember running, because you had to get to because there weren't a lot of spaces in the bus. He tried to get to the bus that was going to take you down, but the bus couldn't go all the way, so he dropped us off at the metro station, which was few miles away, and getting on the metro, because we're at the end of the metro line. And so getting in, they're always, we're at the second stop, so there were already, people on board on the metro train. And then every stop, the doors would open, and a mass of people would come in. And until we got to one of the last stations before the Vatican, and it's just, we're so packed, you couldn't even move. You're just kind of standing there like this, and everyone's excited and talking, and people are trying to listen if it's going to be announced. You're wondering, am I going to make it on time? And then I remember getting to the station, the doors open, and it was just this human river of people. It almost felt like you weren't walking, you were just being carried along by this wave of people. And as we got out to the street, and everyone's kind of going in the same direction. All the cars are stopped because they can't travel, there are too many people, and the police are just looking, and people are just running to the Vatican. And getting there, and as we're getting there, they're listening and saying, I think they're coming out. And so everyone's going faster, and just as we're getting there, you can hear over the the big speakers, Annuncio vobis gaudium magnum. It's like, I announce to you a great joy. Those are the words of the angel, right? When he came, 10 house. A great joy. Reverendissimum, acementissimum, Dominum, Joseph, Papam, Cardinalum, Ratzinger. And remember, the crowd bursting out in joy. So that's this joy that we all experience. But the joy wasn't just at the moment. The joy was building the whole time. As we were getting closer, and we knew it was coming. And even looking back and thinking, the seeds of that joy were already there in the period of emptiness and sadness. It's almost like those periods of emptiness and sadness before the Pope's election were clearing things away. Right? Yesterday we decorated the dining room. And one of the first things we had to do was move the tables out of the place. Clear out the extra stuff. We have to make space. Because the joy that's coming is so great. Magnum, gaudium magnum. This is our life, gentlemen. We are living the period of Advent, waiting for this tremendous joy of the coming of the Savior. But that's just a small image of what our life is. Our life is this tremendous period of long desire, of waiting for heaven, of waiting for that ultimate embrace with the Lord. And every time we feel sadness, every time we feel an emptiness, every time we feel alone, it doesn't feel good, but we have to remember that's a clearing away of all those extra things, making space for that gaudium magnum. And that way we can rejoice always. Because even in our sadness, even in our loneliness, even our moments of misery, when we can remember that hope is there, hope is alive, those things actually stir up our hope, because this is not right. Things shouldn't be this way. You're right, they shouldn't be. Those are the effects of original sin, gentlemen. Things shouldn't be like that. Things shouldn't be unjust. There shouldn't be war. There shouldn't be hatred and criticism. Because we weren't made for that. We were made for the gaudium magnum. And every time we feel those things, it's a hearkening, it's a beckoning, it's a hope. Trying to open and break open our heart and break open our soul and saying, Lord, come. Rorate celi, open heavens and shower down the Savior. And this is how we can rejoice always. Iterum dico gaudete. So remember, even as we're feeling these difficult feelings, they're a call, they're an opening, they're a beginning of that rejoicing. And that's how we can rejoice always in the Lord.